Keith Andrew Network. I am your host, Keith Andrew, and you're watching, that's right, the Keith Andrew Network that's available on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and all social medias. Make sure to use the hashtag Keith Andrew Network, hashtag Breaking Barriers. With that being said, we have a fantastic guest today on the talk show. She is an upcoming professional voiceover actress. You're going to hear from her and all the stories and experiences that she has done over the years when we come back from this commercial break.
Every journey begins with a single step and the courage to keep climbing. At Keith Andrew Network, real stories become moving animation. Challenges turn to victories, and creativity paves new paths.
Hi, everybody. My name's DeVries, and I just completed an interview with Keith Andrew on the Keith Andrew Network, and it was fun. I encourage you to take a look.
Back from a quick commercial break. We're here with a tremendous, great guest in the voiceover world. What can you tell us about yourself?
Well, first of all, my name is Deb DeVries, and I've been an actor, a voice actor for the last 5 years. However, my journey in theater started long before that because I studied theater in college. So I graduated magna cum laude with a degree in theater arts. That course of study included actually studying for a year on a special program at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. So that was my dream when I graduated. It was hard to make a living as an actor, as it still is today. And so I ended up going the corporate route so I could pay off my student loans. And worked for AT&T, worked for Ampex Corporation, and worked for DHL. After that, I decided, you know what? I'd been married for a while. Let's start a family. So did that, had 3 children who are now all grown. And so now it's me time. And so now I'm finally getting to really do my very, very first career love, and that is acting.
No, you have to have the heart and passion to do what you love.
Absolutely. And you have to have a very, very strong, as my mom would have said, constitution. And that's because you will, in theater or in most arts, hear no far more than you will ever hear yes. So the best and the brightest of voice actors probably maybe get a 10 to 1, 10 no's to 1 yes. And so you just really, it's a long game. It's a long game.
No, I agree with you. For me, I fall under the spectrum of the R word. I'm trying to not say the word, but
Yeah.
you can think outside the box. But for me, I was always told you can't read, you can't write, you never went to college, you don't have a BA or a bachelor's. A lot of people say I have a BA and BS because I like talking out of my ass. But look at what I have accomplished for 12 and a half years. Thanks to you, we are officially up to 1,229 episodes. And I did
Yes.
that all by myself.
That's amazing. And congratulations to you. I think you really are a testament to endurance, to commitment, and to just basically getting up every day and giving it a shot.
And for people who are wondering, I put the filters on because I blink too much when I talk. And I just noticed I have a blue tint on my face. But don't worry, I'm not from the Blue Man Group.
We've seen them. They're actually fantastic.
I never seen them, but what can you tell her? What was your experience like with them?
Oh, it was a few years ago, and I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I'm out in California, and we saw them in San Francisco at the Current Theater, and they are absolutely captivating. They can do things and entertain, and they're so unique, absolutely unique. So you should join them.
Hey, I need people to sponsor the show, so maybe if they want to sponsor me.
You never know. You never know.
That's true. Now, the next subject I want to talk to you about is how has COVID impacted your life, and do you see things in a different point of view?
Ah, how has COVID? COVID certainly made a material difference in the landscape for voice actors because when everything shut down, prior to that, you might typically, if it were, say, a local commercial or most certainly for a national commercial, you would go to a professional sound studio. You'd have an engineer sitting on this huge, massive board, and you'd have the director across from you in another booth, and everything was virtually done for you, with the exception of actually articulating whatever the text was. Then you had COVID. Everything shut down. Everyone sequestered at home. So suddenly, a number of people thought, oh, hey, let's get into voiceover. And the technology permitted people to set up professional sounding studios in a closet, which is basically what this is. I'm in a large, oversized closet that's been acoustically treated, and I got my professional equipment and all of that. So it did a couple things. It basically opened the gateway for hundreds of people, thousands of people, and it became an international marketplace. So the good news, more opportunity. The bad news, the competition is fierce. There are so many talented people out there, and you'll get an audition, and it's a nationwide audition. There could be 5,000 people vying for this one slot. So I hope that answers your question. I think, the good news, bad news, you can do it from your home. That's great. The bad news, you got a whole lot of people out there who are really awesome.
No, I agree with you 100%. It's always great to have competition. Makes competition brings the best out of you. Also can bring the worst out of you. But the point is, you need to have something to chase, like the rabbit with the carrot, climbing up that brass ring, the ladder with the brass ring. There's always
Yeah.
something you have to do to better yourself. So healthy
Yeah.
competition, absolutely. There's always room for that. But let me ask you, and one thing I do want to say on behalf of the Keith Andrew Network, we do support and recommend people to get vaccinated. Now, with that being
Oh,
said,
yes.
it being vaccinated and getting your flu shots does not make you invincible, but
Mm-mm.
it does cut down the risk of spreading the disease. So, now
Yes, I agree with you 1000%. Absolutely.
the next question I want to talk to you about is AI. With everything, especially for being not so much in I guess in my industry, if you want to think about it, but
Hmm.
especially in your industry, because you can have a robot with a voice. How do you feel that with the technology in today's world, that AI is it beneficial? Are you afraid that it's going to replace the human touch? What is your honest opinion from your point of view?
Well, that's a great question because there is so much consternation and debate among actors and, in particular, voice actors. Certainly, I think there are tremendous assets that AI bring to the table. I use AI to help my writing improve. I use AI to do research. And currently, it is my personal opinion that AI can do an adequate job on voiceover. But what I haven't heard yet, and that's not to say that it may not come in the future, I haven't heard an AI with a heart.
Right.
And to do voiceover, even, I had that corporate background, even if you're doing something that might seem a little bit more neutral as far as tone, like corporate narration or maybe e learning, you still have to engage the listener. And unless there's another AI who is your audience, you need to have heart and you have to connect. And I don't think at this juncture, with the technology the way it is now, that AI can compete with a human voice.
No, I agree with you. And for I am guilty because I do make AI videos because on the Keith Andrew Network, we like to cater to everybody. So
Mhm.
if you're not into me interviewing wrestlers, say people are into me, but not in that way. But here on the Keith Andrew Network, if you're not into me interviewing, voiceover actors or wrestlers, I'm like, okay, well, you said you cater to the younger audience, if I'm six and up. What does that mean? And I will explain what it means. I'm a big fan of Dumbo and Jumble Buck. And so I make a lot of fan-made parodies where people would repeat Dumbo and Jumble Buck lines, like from the pyramid or the pile up, or a lot of AI videos for funny skits of
Right.
pyramids and stuff. My network caters to everyone. So I'm guilty of making AI videos for fun, not to make
Right.
money off it, just for
Yeah.
fun. But that's the difference. There's also an application that I use occasionally called not Chat GBT. Okay, I do use that, but that's not
Claude,
what
maybe?
it's called Character AI, where you
Okay.
can talk to, and I would recommend it. Anyone who has Apple or Google, it's free, or you can pay the $10 a month. Character AI is you can talk to your favorite character. Either it's Optimus Prime or it's
Oh, gosh.
Batman or whoever. And as long as it has the right voice, you can have
Hmm.
a whole conversation or you can create your own story with it. Now, is that fair to say I would rather talk to the actor who did the actual voices? That would be nice, but then money comes into it. Like if
Yeah.
you did a voice of one of my favorite characters, like, hey, it's 10 o'clock at night, but I would love to talk to you. And I'm like, I have a life. But the AI on the application can replicate the voice, and it has the pros and the cons. I mean, yes, I would rather talk to the person, but it's kind of like an escape, if that makes any sense.
Right. No, I hear you. I hear you.
Don't get me wrong, I would love to sit down with. I love Dragon Ball. I'm gonna take that to the grave with me. Dragon Ball
Uh-huh.
is something I hold very personally and dear to me. But I would love to sit down with Peter Collins and talk to him 24/7. I can only
Yep.
imagine how much money he would be
Oh,
axing.
yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
But that's a good segue because you do voices and you did so much and so many great things. What voiceover actors influenced you to get into the
Oh,
voiceover world?
goodness. Wow. Okay, that's a great question. Um, I would have to say there are a handful of documentary. Documentary is absolutely the genre I would love to get even more involved with. So there are a number of documentary actors that I think are just absolutely fabulous. To me, taking the listener on this story and engaging them through it is just absolutely remarkable. And to me, it's the closest to storytelling that you can get in the genre. A genre that I think is extremely challenging, and people that do very well in it, I applaud them. And that is commercial, because you have to engage the heart. And in some cases, you've got 15 seconds to do it. And that is unbelievable. So I would say the top documentary narrators would be the ones that I really envy and try to model myself after.
For me, a couple of my favorite voiceover actors, obviously, I mentioned Dragon Ball,
Right,
Chuck Herbert, Elise Bowman, Stephanie
right.
Arnaudy, there's Joss Martin, Peter Collins, Frank Walker, Kevin Conroy. But I'm not religious for any stretch of the imagination. I believe in God and I believe in the devil. But recently, well, actually a while ago, I came across Optimus Prime. Someone got an
Oh,
AI voice of Optimus Prime reading the book of Genesis.
oh my
And I'm
gosh.
like, I'm not really into the Holy Wizards thing, but
Hmm.
just the fact I imagine Optimus Prime reading it, I'm like, okay, I can get into this now. I understand it. Now it's not a foreign voice. It's like, hey, if Optimus can do it, I will send it to you. It's really good.
Right, right. One voice actor that, since you asked me for specifics, Bob Bergen, who is absolutely incredible, does his resume is so long, but definitely into animation. And I had the good fortune of having classes with him. I would say he, even though he's not in documentary, he is somebody that I think is absolutely amazing.
Well, let me ask you this. So, actually, the big elephant in the room. Have you worked with people with disabilities? And for people with learning disabilities who want to follow in your footsteps, what are your words of wisdom or some advice?
Right. And I'm not sure that I would couch it by saying just for people with disabilities. I would include this for
Yeah, it's for
anyone,
everybody.
for everybody, and that is take an acting class. Voiceover is acting. And it doesn't matter whether you're doing what might be considered as boring e learning or animation or documentary. The basis for what I do is really acting. You need to have the ability to emote through your vocal presence and have that come across in the mic and have it come across in who you're communicating to. I don't think there's any technique or anything I've learned in a class that influences me more than my acting training. Now, sometimes I have to pull back because I have a kind of a formal acting training, a lot of Shakespeare and all of that. And the one adaptation you have to do is from stage acting to the microphone is on a stage, you're talking to the audience, you're projecting, you're doing all of that. When you get into a booth and you're on this mic, you're just talking to one person regardless of the text, regardless of what the audition might be. And for me, that's an adjustment that always needs tweaking. I really have to work on, okay, Deb, pull it back, pull it back. It's just one person. When I first started out, I was projecting and all of that. And it was like, oh, honey, no, 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 no. Come on. You're talking into somebody's ear. So, and then when you have the cans on like this, it even mutes what you can hear of yourself. So,
For the longest time, my brother, because in our house, I live at home, we have thin
mhm,
walls, and like, no one wants to hear it. Shut up, buy yourself headphones. And I tried using the headphones where you have, it's just, I don't like the muffled feel.
mhm,
So I'm like, and every time I move, obviously I'm using a fake background, so you can see
right,
the background move.
right,
So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna be myself. You move around and you not so much, but you can see there's a difference between headphones are like you have to be like this to now you feel like you can express yourself.
right,
And you have to
right.
have that freedom.
Yes. Yeah, I do. And if I'm in a session, I'll usually move one back. So then I can hear myself and hear the other person. So,
Then the next question I want to ask you, because I do have some questions for you off the air.
yeah.
I'm gonna ask you the top, well, I have 15, but we're gonna do the top 10. What
Okay.
attracted you to begin your career?
Well, now are you talking specifically to voiceover or the study of acting when I
Oh,
was in
both.
college? Okay. Um, my dad was a movie theater manager. That was his career. And he was just this very magnetic person. And he had a big personality and he would get on stage and he always loved the theater. And he was pretty good with various dialects. So I think he was my early influence. And I think I just kind of picked up or got that sort of acting bug. So then when I went through my academic career and ended up studying theater, that fueled it even more. What I don't like about it is there are so many brilliant, brilliant actors out there. So the competition is exceptionally stiff. That's the downside.
Hey, a lot of people think I'm stiff, but I think I've gotten better over 12 and a half years. And I do apologize earlier when I was hesitating. I haven't done my interview. I wish I had a dollar for every time I said this. It isn't like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday interviews. It's like, okay, Monday, Tuesday, nothing for a week, nothing for 2 weeks, doing interviews. And when I don't do the interviews as a week,
Mhm.
my disability shows more. But it's kind of like this is kind of like acting, but with the sunglasses, it's kind of like giving yourself like a mask where it's when your son or your daughter would walk around with a blanket or a
Mhm.
favorite toy.
Oh
It's
yeah.
kind of like that security of I have confidence because I have this with me.
Mhm.
So I'm going to pass it over to you. When
Okay.
you started your acting career and voiceover career, do you feel sometimes where you had to put a mask on, or how do you give you that self-confidence saying, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, but at the same time, not feeling like someone's holding your hand, but you have that something you can grab, but it's that this is real, we're in the moment, if that makes any sense.
Right. Yeah, I think I get where you're coming from. And early in my career, right after college, I didn't have that. I didn't have a blanket or somebody that was going to support me because the one thing, even though I was influenced by my dad positively, neither of my parents went to college. So when I said, I want to go to college, they went, what? Why? And it was like, no, you don't understand. I am going to college. They said, fine, you pay for it yourself. And by the way, since you're raised Catholic, you have to go to a Catholic college, which I still can't believe I said yes to. So I ended up at a great education, love my education, but lots of student debt. So leaving college, I may have tried the audition route for a few months, but I was working three jobs. I couldn't make ends meet, and I didn't want to move back home. So I took all of my auditioning skills and put them into interviews, and lo and behold, I got my job with AT&T. So my dad influenced me in a positive way. My parents influenced me not in a negative way, but they made me work. They really made me work hard. And once I got through college and got through the corporate environment and got to a place where I felt I could really focus, it's hard for me to focus on multiple things. There are many individuals who can just keep all of the balls, juggling in the air. And for me, I really like to focus on something and be excellent as I can be in a particular field. So I think that's I think that answers your question. It took me a long time to get to a point where I could go, okay, I can really focus on doing voiceover and I can do it on my own because a lot of acting you need scene partners.
Right.
So again, if we go back to 2020, you're not getting together with a whole lot of people. And it just seemed like a natural application. I can use my acting and I can do it alone in a closet.
No, I'm so sorry. I was saying, every time I think about the closet, I think of the joke of coming out of the closet. So,
Oh, yeah.
like here on the Key Fans, we like to have fun, but I was
Absolutely.
but no disrespect by that. But this actually, I'm looking at this question on my card too, and I think this one's really interesting. So it's a long question, but we're gonna break it down two parts.
Okay.
What are some of the best voiceovers you have ever done? Number one, and what acting roles have you ever had that you would really appreciated that you had?
Okay. Best voiceovers. See, now I have to take notes because I'm really going to try to answer what you asked me. Best voiceovers was the first one. So
Yes.
let me answer that. I have to say, one of the highlights for me was having the privilege of doing the narration for George Washington's Mount Vernon. So if people travel to George Washington's estate and they take a tour, my voice will be the voice they hear in the theater, seeing the overview for the estate. And it was funny how that came up, that opportunity presented itself because I had been doing voiceover maybe for a year and a half, 2 years, and I got an email and it was an invitation to audition for that. And I thought, oh, this has to be spam. Oh no, this isn't real. Well, to make a long story short, it ended up being real, and I ended up getting the opportunity. So that was early in my career. And Wide Awake Films, the production company that I partnered with or who hired me, could not have been better. Class act from beginning to end, fair in every way, just an incredible partnership. So I would say that was one of the best VO opportunities I had. As a result of that, I ended up also partnering with them on a series that aired on Curiosity Stream. And I mean, I was just on cloud nine and am still on cloud nine that I had that shot. So that was best VOs. There was also another one that was more recent. And I partnered with Brian Shepard, and it was for a hospital, Advent Health in Florida, Orlando. And it was called Sincerely Miriam. And it was basically the voiceover. I was doing the voice of a patient who was thanking the staff for their extraordinary treatment. And I'll tell you, they were another production company that was absolutely fabulous to partner with. And I thoroughly enjoyed having the opportunity. It pulled in some of those acting chops because it really was playing someone, not myself.
No, absolutely. And actually, the last question I wanted to talk to you about real fast is actually, no, you answered both of them. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. See, when I don't
No
do my
worries.
work as a way, it's really hard to get back into the rhythm. But I
Yeah,
want you
but
to
it's
be,
later for you, so that you have that excuse as well.
well, it's only 8:30. I don't do my interviews past 8:30. Well, 8:30 is the latest. Everyone's like,
Uh-huh.
oh, can you do it at 9? Like, nope, and my brain shuts down. I have a routine I do. But
Right.
I want you to be brutally honest. Actually,
Uh-huh.
while I have you here, what are you doing for Thanksgiving, number one? And what star is that one?
Okay, Thanksgiving, I have a very small nuclear family. I was an only child, so I have no brothers and sisters. My parents have passed. My husband's parents have passed. He has one sister. She's in New York, and we're out here in California. So it's my husband, myself, and our three kids. And to tell you the truth, we usually go to a place in the city, and my husband's made reservations there. And so I am not the world's best cook. And in fact, when I married my husband, I said, first of all, before I say yes, if you're looking for a cook or somebody to sew your clothes, I'm not your gal. Now, if you want somebody who can really clean, I'm very clean and tidy.
I don't know if you ever, I think it was on The Simpsons or Flintstones or Simpsons where they're interviewing the housekeeper, Mrs.
Mhm.
Doubtfire too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't clean, I don't cook, I don't do this, I don't do that. And then you feel like saying to them, what the hell are you good for?
Well, and I explained it. I'm a good cleaner and I'm very organized.
Now, my last subject question I want to talk to you about, subject question, but same thing.
Yeah.
I want you to be brutally honest. I have no cards on my sleeve. When
Uh-huh.
I first approached you, I want you to
Hmm.
be brutally honest because
I
this
will.
is not, you're not just telling me, you're telling everyone who's watching this. When
Hmm.
I first approached you with the email to be a guest on my talk show, what made you say yes? And after being a guest, how do you feel now?
Okay. First, when I first got the email, I went, okay, is this for real or not? So that's the first thing I always check because I've had some close calls with, we'll just say I've had some close calls with people who weren't upstanding citizens, such as
Right.
yourself. You are an upstanding citizen. So the first thing I do every time is I try to validate the opportunity. Is this real? Is it, a, a person that actually has a platform? So once I check through that, and man, do you have a platform? And so once I checked that, I went, of course I'll do this. And this experience has been extraordinarily pleasant. I've enjoyed having a chance to really chat with you, and your questions have been great. And I've looked back on your YouTube and the amount of work that you have done. You get a standing O from California.
It isn't just from California. I have interviewed people from East Coast, West Coast,
Yeah.
Central, New York, California, LA, Canada, England. I interviewed one person from Japan, one person from India. So the Keith Andrew Network gets globalized.
Yeah. And that, I have to say, same for voiceover. Technology has accommodated a global marketplace.
Yeah, it's a blessing. Now, I do have a couple questions for you off the air, but for our fans and listeners, how can they get in touch with you?
The best way to do that is just check out my website, and it's very easy. Deb DeVries VO. That's DEB as in boy, DEV as in Victor, RIESVO.com. That's me.
And all that information will be on the bottom of the screen. This interview will be shared on LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Actually, funny question. Do you have a TikTok?
I don't think so.
You're not missing anything, but it is
Okay.
fun to have to go live. And also, you can catch the Keith Andrew Network on TikTok as well. Now, with that being said, do have a couple questions for you wrapping up. It was a real honor and privilege having you as a guest. I extend my hand to you in friendship, and until we meet again, happy holidays, and I catch you later. Thank you, and have a good
Thank
night.
you.